Good late Tuesday, early Wednesday, meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, giving an update on that weather forecast. And currently looking at that Doppler radar perspective, you see some scattered shower acts and even a little bit of lightning showing up there toward at least parts of South Georgia. I know that strike there's kind of just getting there toward areas just outside of the viewing circle, the most recent one, and some others in that region too. But I know as I kind of go to the overview here, the temperature's pretty warm, really. Those low to mid 70s are the story here. So it's that summertime pattern now that we're kind of done with. So I'll keep our eyes on all of that. I know as we go ahead and look out toward Oklahoma, the national weather story, there are some severe thunderstorm warnings in play. One closer in toward the Ardmore area. You see one there closer toward Oklahoma City, just the eastern areas there, and then some flash flood warnings too. Severe thunderstorm watch in that Pincus area toward Oklahoma City. Another one a little bit further off toward the east. So definitely important to keep an eye on there on that national perspective there. I know it is June now, and you just see these 80s there in Lone Star State. I know hurricane season started. I mean, it's also college baseball postseason time, and that super regional round, and the Seminoles are doing a great job. I was there to cheer them on over the weekend there in Tallahassee, and they're moving on to the next round also in Tallahassee against UConn, and then the Gators, surprisingly, they advance and they'll be up at Clemson here. I know for Tallahassee's regional, looking to be pretty warm. The game scheduled during the afternoon, so maybe Friday having to watch out for thunderstorm acts, and hopefully Saturday and Sunday that's not a factor really. And then as I know we look out toward the west, I know Gator softball there falling to Oklahoma as we were looking there, as we were looking toward that Tuesday afternoon. So important information to kind of keep in mind there. But let me go ahead and go on over toward the graphics right now, because hurricane season kind of is that storyline now. I know definitely something to kind of keep our eyes on in that regard, because it's looking like it's going to be an above average season there. Now, June 1st is when it started. Haven't had any named storms yet. We sometimes get storms before the official start of hurricane season. That didn't happen at least this year, but we got to pay attention for the next several months. Just make sure the hurricane kit up to date. I know as we kind of look here at the American model, already been kind of indicating this trend here, maybe some tropical development next week toward the Gulf of Mexico, maybe some type of weaker system with tropical depression, some tropical storm, something like that. Maybe being called Alberto. We just don't know at this point. If this one did get designated, and it's the first one, that's what it would get called. But we'll have to watch here. I know it could end up having a lot of rainfall with it, whatever kind of comes out of this, if it's tropical or not. As we're looking toward like South Florida, maybe closer up here, we'll see. This is very preliminary, and it's on the edge of the signs right now. Just stay tuned. Not turning the logo red yet, but on some of the models have hinted at a lot of rain for like the Miami area next week, but it's highly variable, the forecast. Could be one of the sloppier systems that's really wet. I know as we kind of look at some of our names here, going back toward Alberto 94, probably should have been retired, to be quite honest, then, that name, because it caused many folks there to lose their life in South Georgia, and another iteration of Alberto did, and just a terrible event there for folks, Albany, and then even to the north as well. So many lives lost because of flooding. A lot of these names pretty familiar. Beryl, 2012, toward the First Coast region. Debbie here, 2012, toward the Swanee River Valley. And all of North Florida and South Florida really felt some type of impact. And then you just kind of look at Gordon. I know that was a storm in 2000. That name not needing to be retired there. You kind of go down the list here, kind of give an idea on things. I know Isaac, I believe that was a hurricane in 2012, that storm name it was anyway, towards Louisiana. So It's just kind of interesting to look at this here and see the names that weren't retired, because if they're not retired, they get reused every 6 years here. We may be going through other names this year, and if we go through this whole list, because it's so active this season, again, it only takes one storm, so keep that in mind too. I mean, you could have a whole bunch of storms and none of them hit, but as you're looking toward your area. But we'll go to an alternative name list if we get to this one season running officially through November 30th. But of course, we can always have storms after the season officially ends, in the basin at least. And right now, it is also the tax-free time there to get those hurricane supplies in the state of Florida. So kind of important to keep in mind there. And you see already the footprint of maybe some of that enhanced really moisture content there toward South Florida, maybe turn edge toward Central Florida later next week as well. This only goes out 7 days, and it's kind of on the edge late into 7 days. But you see several inches of rain maybe down there, but this could always shift around. It may not even develop like this. It may not be tropical. Might just be some moisture there, tropical moisture we see. You actually see Oklahoma there. Quite a bit of rainfall. I know you can go to carter.com/radar for an interactive look at things when we're not on the air here. So something to kind of keep in mind for sure. And we're always on top of things, always being on the air here for each tornado warning storm over the 62 counties. I've been on for all of them since like 2019. I know we didn't come on for a tornado emergency last Thursday in Texas. A very one-off scenario there. Pretty rural area, and looking like no lives were lost from that, at least out there, as we were getting just away from the Midland area. But always on for our local tornado warnings as we go ahead and see the extended forecast now for the next 7 days. 40% chance of rain on that Wednesday and Thursday. A little bit lower on that Friday, down to 30%. Saturday, 10%. Sunday, 10%. But then on Monday and Tuesday, up to 40% here. And it's going to be warm. I know you see warming up toward that Friday through Sunday stretch there. 94, 95, 96 in that range anyway. Above average heat here, and it's where you want to really drink plenty of water. And then maybe we'll be watching the tropics next week. It might not be for our area, but it could be for somebody in the Sunshine State or along the Gulf Coast, or you just never know. Could be further off to the east if anything even develops. Again, not turning logo red. It's really a low confidence thing right now, but there's been enough hints in the model, and I think it's important to go ahead and kind of mention the possibility of a weak but wet system. Again, weak in terms of winds doesn't mean it won't be, really impactful in terms of moisture and flooding and the like. So just keep that in mind as we're kind of looking at things. Doesn't mean it'll be here. Models right now indicate maybe not here, but just stay tuned. Things can shift. Some runs have had it furthermore poleward in its movement closer, toward the Florida Panhandle. You just never know. That's if it even develops at all or not. All the models are on board, and we're over a week away, so it's not, something we need to stress out about. But it is for the next, several months. Have the hurricane kit up to date, and it's a good time already to stock up on those supplies there as hurricane season gets underway. Generally, again, you don't have the more powerful systems in terms of like wind this time of year, but definitely a weak, sloppy system can provide a lot of rain and a tornado threat, so keep that in mind. That's just something in the northeastern quadrant. I mean, who knows if this even develops, but if it did, well, maybe part of our area gets into that, or maybe it's more southeast Florida, maybe, somewhere down there, down in the Florida Peninsula, or if it goes west of our area somehow, and maybe the Florida Panhandle. I mean, you just really never know here. And there's even a chance, it doesn't even have to hit Florida. We've seen this before, the sloppy systems, they didn't have to actually make landfall in Florida to have an impact. It didn't even have to be tropical to provide a lot of moisture, maybe flooding concerns to South Florida next week. Just the low pressure in general could do that. We've seen it before. So that's something to kind of keep in mind, keep in the back of your mind. Again, not turning logo red yet. There's not enough confidence. Not all the models are on board here. The European model hadn't been showing it as much, but the American model has been hitting at it quite a bit, and some other models have been showing a similar storyline this time of year. That makes me think, I know that sometimes the European model has trouble with the weaker systems, so makes me kind of think something may end up developing. This is a type of setup that makes a lot of sense, really, for the month of June here. So So we'll just have to watch. I mean, it's been kind of quieter in terms of the afternoon storms. Of course, on May 10th, we had those tornadoes that ripped through on Tallahassee there. I know, looking at some of the damage while I was over there this past weekend, definitely you could kind of see the impact there of some of the tornadic activity in the water area, and just, there's still some debris and the like. And that really remains there as we're looking almost a month after because of this the widespread impact of the tornadic activity and just the wind in general toward Tallahassee. Very significant wind speeds there, a historic event for sure for Leon County there. I mean, that, had a bigger impact than some hurricanes have had over the years there. So crazy to think about. But again, we're watching things here in the Weather Center. I think that'll pretty much do it for tonight. I know. Try to wrap things up, just kind of giving you a look at things here. Trying to give you the very latest on the scenario. I know we have a flooded advisory in Georgia right now. I know I kind of hinted at that as we were coming on tonight, but that's for parts of Irwin County there and Tifton Turner as well, as we've had some precip in that storyline up there towards South Georgia. So, something to kind of keep in mind there. See along I-75, a good bit of precip. I mean, it's been isolated, but some areas closer there. I know Cook County, 34 inches. They had a flood advisory earlier, and down the areas in Lowndes County, and then up here to the north, I know, looking toward Irwin, Tifton, Turner, you see 2-3 inches in some areas. So definitely an important storyline there. So again, we'll be tracking everything for you. I have another update late Thursday here. If we need to cut in for anything locally, we'll do that, of course. If there's afternoon storms that just get out of hand here, we've been lucky so far, but it's still pretty early in that sea breeze storm season here with that pattern. I'm not getting a traditional sea breeze action too much yet, but it's going to happen. Facebook, Casey Cloud, everybody acts Cloud Weather, Twitter /exit Cloud Casey, YouTube at Cloud Weather, Twitch Cloud Weather, and cloudweather.com for the very latest. I know we'll always post information there on Facebook and then Twitter /X there if we're not accepted to come on here. So just keep that in mind as well. I know there's just some scattered light showers really right now in South Georgia, so not too big of a deal in that regard. So again, I'm just trying to give you the very latest here on everything. I know we'll watch the tropics for it. If we have to go into alert mode, we will. It's a possibility here as we look ahead later in the timeline if it's like going to be a bigger Florida impact or if there's going to be a better chance of a local impact. We just don't know right now, and it's just always important to stay up to date. So for now, have a great night, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Stay safe.